May 20th Board of Commissioners meeting to order. I'll entertain a motion to approve the posted agenda.
So moved.
Joan moves. Second.
Second.
Warren seconds. All in favor of the agenda, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda approved. Consent items. We'll take all four of them at one time. After review, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Gary motions. Second.
Second.
Warren seconds. All in favor of the consent items approving, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Consent items approved. Moving on, county board members. Warren.
Okay, only meeting that I had after one, the drug task force meeting was canceled basically because they didn't have any business. It was quite a change, but he did provide the first quarter review, which didn't change a whole lot of things. And then corrections met on last Monday. Population that day was 125. The average for the month was 123.5. So right on there. 47 were per diems, including 4 from the Federal Bureau of Prisons, which hasn't been very active in late years. Polk County had 72 of that 125. Per diems for the month are $133,908. And then there was revenue too from the juvenile center. That's just been operating pretty much on both sides now for 5 months. But there was about $81,003 in revenue there. So that's over $200,000 coming in on the plus side there. Security detention had the average for the month was 4.09 kids. Non-secure was 6.69, so about 11 per day, and that's out of a total bed space for 16, so it's not bad there. There's shortages all over the state, so I'm sure that that number will probably be going up. Probation, there were 47 new offenders, and then they closed 98 cases. There must have been some house cleaning going on there. Personnel overall, there were 2 new employees, one in the jail, one in the juvenile center, and there was 1 resignation. So there's not a whole lot of activity going on there anymore. But those are still high. A lot of those people are in training yet, so they're not quite as efficient as they'd like to be. And then as far as the 2025 budget, we had the review of the first quarter of operations. Revenue came in at 25%, expenses at 25%. So
Don't get closer than that.
no, you can't get any closer to that. And then that's about enough out of me.
Good. Thank you. Gary.
Corrections actually, we met twice, with the Friday, then with the advisory group. It's the first time I've met with that group, so it was good opportunity to meet some other folks and get some other reports for that. Tri-Valley last week. You're aware that we're looking for a new CEO to administrate that program. We did interview a search committee and decided to go that direction. So we'll be submitting organizing a committee and moving forward on that. That is going to take some time. So we did interview an individual who had worked along with Tri-Valley for a number of years, and he will be the interim. Corky Reynolds. And another part of that, Tri-Valley is involved with the transportation and just some interesting statistics. 2024, 170,707 rides. Crookston almost 92,000 rides in 1 year. And so that certainly is well used. And one of the busiest people down there must be one of the dispatchers, or the dispatchers. They average a weekday 465 calls per day. Wow. That's 34 calls per hour.
Hmm.
So
Staffed with 2 people there. Are we not for the full shift? There's a space in the.
Well, this is dispatchers for Tri-Valley, just for the bus.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm thinking our tribe. Okay, sorry.
Sorry to confuse you on that. So they seem to be going very, very well. Some new buses are coming. We had a problem with that. Laurel meeting met, again, spending a lot of time on where we're going to be next year, if we're going to be on the Moorhead Library or not. We're having some issues with space and cost. So we may be looking at some other alternatives.
What would those alternatives might be?
Well, we're looking at what spaces would be available in the Moorhead and Dilworth area.
Okay.
It's I think we had saw the square footage is around $10 to $12 square foot. Moorhead libraries, I think, in the $25 range. So that's getting us a little bit of a budget problem. In fact, we sent, or at least at our first draft, and looking at a 5.15% increase. And of course, with the formula, that's more for Polk County. Mm-hmm. And that ends up with an 8.6% increase of about 28,000 over last year.
Is City of Moorhead trying to get the library to pay off their bond?
I'm sure they're trying to make a budget, so yeah, we'll see where that ends up. I think our preference was to go that particular area, but we'll have to see how things work out here in the next couple of months. And then when I paid my taxes this year, within 30 seconds, I had a printed receipt back from the office. I thought that was very impressive. And
I can't take any credit for that. That would be Abdo. That was her idea.
Well, it was a great idea, and nice to see that. That's all I have.
I didn't get a receipt when I paid mine.
You didn't?
I have the canceled check, though, so I'm not going to get.
Well,
I think it's kind of a learning process or a growing pain of they're switching to, instead of just having the canceled check as your receipt, that now that they are trying to issue if you pay in person here. Mm-hmm. If it's mailed in, I don't believe you'll be getting a receipt, but if it's paid at the counter, they'll print one for you.
Yeah, they were busy when I dropped mine off, so I just dropped off the envelope and walked back out.
Okay.
That's all I have.
All right. Thank you. Joan?
Okay. I'll try and whittle this down. I had a SHAC membership meeting. We just kind of finalized our triple C's that we have 4 times a year. So that was kind of a lot of our main thing. And then Foston has a group, it's called like Healthier Foston. And so they have like it's people from the city, Northwest Regional Development, the hospital, the school district, Firefly, Aluma, public health. And so we just kind of got together and just, talked about a few things that, they're trying to do to make the city healthier. And I mean, one of the things is the trail system that they're putting through the town. I mean, their goal is to eventually, have that you can pretty much walk to any place within the city of Austin. And so that was just, it was interesting to go to that. And one thing that the school district is doing is they're going to be putting in a calming room, we just, had a lot of talk about kids with mental health issues and stuff. And so just kind of a place where, kids get anxious or anxiety, that type of thing, that they can just go in that room to kind of settle down before it escalates too far. And then I had a SHAC executive meeting. We spent a lot of time on kind of like what ifs of, funding at the state level or cuts. Because there is a proposal, I don't remember which body, but of changing some of the funding for the infrastructure, which a lot of CHBs have been using just for the shortfalls of funding that they found out during COVID that they didn't have. And then I had a MAFBA, a whole work group meeting, and I still feel like we are spinning our wheels there, but we kind of broke into now some smaller work groups. And so yesterday I actually met, I'm included in the phase-in work group, which a few of the people on that are actually out of Hennepin and Ramsey County, that are the pilot projects. But I felt it'd be good to be able to go to be part of this, to see what this looks like for a rural county, and like where we don't necessarily have a high percentage of African American children, but we've got children that will fit into that disproportionality part of the act, with poverty and those type of things. So, just, and then we're still working on the definitions that are things that are included in the law but don't have a definition. And I know that there have been some amendments brought forth down at the Capitol to delay the implementation from January 1st, 2027. The other ones come very far, but then now it sounds like there's another possibly amendment going on. So that's still to be decided on what goes on there, and there's still the question of funding. I did my radio program, and then I got back home and just kind of caught the end of the AMC ledge update, but that's kind of outdated now. And then I had AMC Finance Committee, and we agreed on a formula to work out the county yearly dues, and because our goal was to provide something that isn't going to create huge highs and lows in dues, kind of a more stable. So this will still have to come before the full board of directors, but Polk's for next year will be $21,508 is what is on there for right now. And then we also looked at our investments that AMC has and what they're in. And then last Thursday, I was down at the Capitol, which ended up being the same day that they came out with their agreed upon, budget dollar amounts. It was a good day to be down there. And I mean, had conversations with a lot of different legislators down there, because I tried to contact a lot of legislators I know from other parts of the state. And, on both sides of the aisle, just, making our stories known to them. And then actually had futures after that, and we had Matt Chase, who's the NACO executive director, and kind of talked about trends that are kind of shaping our policies, and and then of course there's the political issues that are going on. But one of our sessions we talked about, it was entitled "Who Will Be Paying Property Taxes?" and it talked about land use, and especially like for the rural counties where ag is a large part of the tax base. There's the push and pull between the farmland, and then you've got urban development, and you have solar panels and wind turbines, and how they all work together. And I mean, the saying is we're not making new farmland unless if there's trees and stuff being torn up, which you don't want to see. So, it's a real struggle sometimes to be able to figure out, the way to do it. And then he brought, and this was done when Mary Jo McGuire was the NACO president. It's The Marvelous Adventures of County Land, and it's kind of like, a little kid's book. And it was all done by AI. So, so I grabbed an extra copy and gave it to Chuck that he can have down in the office for, people to look at and stuff. And then we also actually, our agenda got changed because then Minnesota has created another new department, and it's dealing with long range planning. So we had discussions with the couple of the main managers from that department, and just kind of talk to them about what we have as concerns, as counties going forward, and what some of the things that are going on at the state level now, how they're affecting the local levels already. And then yesterday I had intercounty, and I serve on the audit committee. So we met before our regular board meeting, and we had 4 proposals for our auditing services, and we actually for a 5-year contract, and we made a recommendation to the board, which was then approved, and we're going to stay with Whipley. We've had them for like the past, I think, 5 years, and it's been really good working with them, and just kind of that consistency. And then also we talked about, possible things going on at the federal and the state level, and how, they're affecting everybody locally. So that's it.
I think one of the things that should come up at the state level in questioning is how do we go from a severe deficit to a severe surplus, and then we go back to something in the bean counters isn't making sense to me to be that far off. Every cycle is it's kind of weird because it's probably, I haven't paid attention that long, but
Mm-hmm.
it's been at least 6 or 7 times
Yeah. Well,
of this
yeah.
yin yang back and forth. And
And Thursday, I heard the term fuzzy math a lot. You know, it's and um, you know, it's like, I mean, you know, the Health and Human Services budget is really where they're targeting, you know, cuts. Um, Actually, Senator Abler um, proposed an amendment which was included on the Senate side of, instead of just, you know, slashing numbers in that budget, you know, of doing, like, putting together a work group like what we've done with the math book, but you know, people that are actually like doing the work on the ground, and county commissioners and staff to thoughtfully look at where cuts can be made, you know, instead of just making a cut and but they're still mandated, and you know, just shifting that cost down to local level. um, you know, and I think also too that the mandates themselves need to be looked at, you know, because there were changes that were made like during COVID, and are they changes that are still practical now, or you know, do they need to be changed? I mean, yeah, it's a hard conversation, but we need to do something. And then there's the House and the governor have not proposed any cuts to county program aid. The Senate does have it was initially 20 million and then it was brought down to $10 million cut. So, you know, but then, you know, you still have these shifts. And so you know, I think it's going to be a few days, I think, before the special session actually even gets called. Because I think they're just, they thought they had a deal, but it's, you know,
It wasn't a deal.
right, yeah. So,
okay, thank you. I just got one quick thing. It's on the newsletter. I received, I think 6 phone calls or maybe 7 on the redetermination of the ditches, and which sparked some conversation. But it's, I happened to be at a cafe up in Warren, and that was a discussion even up in there. So people are reading the uh, county newsletter, especially the way it was towards the end on the back page, some of the verbiage for the redetermination. People are paying attention to the county newsletter, so hats off everybody involved. So
Was there some opposition or some
I,
concern?
I wouldn't say there was opposition. It was more so, tell me about it. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? And that remains to be seen yet, if it's going to be good or bad. So, yeah, it is what it is, and unfortunately, I've said it before, the county should have mandated years ago, because this is the first time on some of these ditches, and it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. And a lot of these ditches were made back in pre 40s
mhm.
and have never been redetermined. So it'll be an interesting process. So
On a long-term thing, it won't happen overnight, will it?
no, no. And there's going to be public anti-sediment, and I think when we come to the point of multiple ditch systems that connect to each other, and possibly that DIT system becomes one system, that's going to be a good thing for the individual DIT systems that are maybe 6 or 7 miles long or whatever, and it's only the one DIT system. Do those technically need to be redetermined? It's
Mhm.
who knows. So, but it was more of a comment on the newsletter than redetermination. So, moving on. Sheriff.
Good morning.
Morning, Jim.
Okay. Okay, the first thing is we got the monthly reports for the month of April. We had our documented services. We had paid services for the month of 2,478.64 and no charge services with 1,514.28, and a total of services that came in was 73 for the month. So stays right about the average depending on how busy court gets with jury trials and summons. So, and then our transport log for the month of April, we had 6,048 total miles, and that ended up being 209.5 total deputy hours that we had in for transports for the month. Medical facility, we had 8, mental health 788, our in-state prison of 2,320, out of state 1,203, other counties 324, and then federal transport continues to stay high with 1,345. So
Those federal transports are from where to where?
the federal transports are from Crookston to Fargo.
Okay,
Yeah.
they're all outgoing, they're not incoming.
What was that?
They're all outgoing, not incoming.
It depends if we're switching when we get down there and we take on a couple and leave a couple.
All right,
Yeah. So
could be both ways.
yeah,
All right.
it continues to be up. So a total with that. So and then for our dispatch center for the month, there's the list that I sent with you for the hours and the transports that we had for the month. So for our dispatch center for calls, we had a total of 2,200 calls for the month of April. Emergency 577, non-emergency 1623. And we've got our 2 new ones still training, but with their experience, it's going really well. They're going through it really quick, so it's been really nice with that. So, and then our reports for the April, we had a total of 107 calls for service for the month. And then our assist agencies, 27, civil processes, 161, and DOIRS, we had 2, and then info tip line, we received 19 for the month. And then our motorist assist 16, and then our vehicle crashes we had is 10 for the month of April. Public assist, we had 20. School patrol 67. Reckless drivers, we had 7. And our traffic, what we had for that, we had a total of 9 complaints and hazards, and our traffic stops were 176. Or I'm sorry, on that for 176, but federal transports, we had 15 total. Warren, kind of what you asked on that. And then our warrants, we had 10 for the month of April. So in a total of, and 2 in error, this 2 down here is an error, so we had a total of 726 of calls for service for the month of April. So, questions, concerns? With that, and also sent you the March 2025. Any questions on that?
Other transports, if you can go back on those.
In March?
Um, and that's fine too. On the transports, person to jail, obviously someone gets sick, you're making the doctor's appointment type of thing. Is that what's?
Yeah, that's our medicals right here. This would be transports. We kind of break it down. Here's our federals. Here's our medical transports. So we had 2. And remember, Tri-County also does the local ones, or the ones that probably aren't putting other people in harm and stuff like that. So they'll take some. So there's our health ones, mental health. And then this is the in prison ones.
Yep.
And then other is any other county without, or maybe in North Dakota or that. And then out of state is when we leave Minnesota.
Okay, I was just curious how that all broke up.
Okay. Okay, next item I have up is we have to open up the community resource officer position. Right now, our community service officer, should say service officer position that we have, he's going to be graduating and taking his post test, so he will be leaving that position. So that will leave that position up to look for another one that wants to come in and fill that vacancy. So I'm looking for a motion approval to fill that community service officer position that we've had since last year.
What does that person do?
That person does a little of everything. It was put on to help out with boat and water, help out at the Justice Center, help out with local transports, and you know, we have anything to do with dogs, anything to do with property. They're there to serve for that position. That was put in last year.
That's a 40-hour.
Nope, it's just a part-time position. It's and we look for somebody that's in between first and second year of college, or a 4-year college student. So they're in the law enforcement program. It's not so we're trying to build off of that, get them in our system, get to know them, and this last one we did really worked out well. So
Keep them interested.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Position.
Just give them some hours. They work boat and water. He, Justin Shears, our service officer, he went out and redid all of our contacts, business contacts, and re-updated that.
Great.
So like the weekend, he'd go out and contact them, or during the days, he'd be going to each city and contacting the businesses to update the key holders and all that type of stuff. So he took on that project since he started last year, and that went really well.
So it'll vary, average maybe 20 hours depending on season.
Yeah, it depends on season, and it also depends on their schooling and stuff like that. So, it's kind of a hybrid of an internship.
Yeah.
But our interns can get paid if they're on transports, but this is paid to come in, and same
Right.
thing is like this summer. He might be done by then, but he's going to work with. We have the rodeos coming up in Erskine, so he would be a second with another full-time deputy. He can't work by himself. So
No, I think that's good. I would move to approve.
Gary moves. Second.
Second.
Warren seconds. All in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
okay, well, thank you. And then the next one is we have an open patrol position. We had one of our deputies resign, and the ending of the resignation will come up in June. So I'm just looking forward to, so we can still post it. We still have to fill it, but letting you know that that position is open.
Who is that position? Or who is that person?
That person was Lee Tate.
Had been with the department a while?
About 6 years.
Okay.
Mhm.
And where's he going?
Not sure.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
I'll move.
Warren moves, second.
Second.
Joan seconds. All in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, and then the last thing I'm bringing is Josh Plant sent me the quotes of remodeling some of the office space to share with social service in the Macintosh office. And the breakdown that he received so far is, it should be right here, is for the electrical bid for outlet moves, card swipes for the doors. That was $2,000, and then contract material labor bid, and 2 walk-in doors, one for between social service, and then the other one is a walk-in door for those 2 offices. Doorknobs to match, others are keypad knobs, and then electronic security latches. This is the big price ticket. Just our latches to get inside of our doors is $3,790, and then miscellaneous paint and finishing supplies $150. So also sent that information out to the Public Safety Committee, is that I'm also adding another 5,000 to 7,000 for office desks and cabinets to outfit those 2 offices. So I'm looking for motion to approve to go ahead with that project, and so we can utilize some space with social service.
I'll move.
Warren moves.
With the office equipment, I mean, is there anything over in Boston that you can bring over?
Yeah, we'll take as much as we can, but I don't want it to come up, or I can leave it out and then come to you if I need more, but I have it in the budget, so.
Warren moved. Do I hear a second?
I have a second, and I have some concerns.
Duly noted. Go ahead.
Yeah, I thought it's a good idea going into Macintosh, but obviously, I think there was a significant investment in Boston, and not sure what our plans are for that now. These could be close to $20,000, right?
Yeah, if you had to add everything together, yep.
So
What is the
that's my concern.
status with the Boston offices?
What was it?
The status of the Boston office, are you using that?
We're continuing to use it because we have no other place to use out there for our
Roof
deputies.
issues and everything else, or?
It's not the roof issues anymore. We've had the water problems. It's the smell and the flies and bugs that are in there. And we need a place for the deputies to work. I can't get anybody else to come in that office. I've asked social service, probation. They don't want anything to do with it. So what I'm asking is I know it's a concern, but don't you think the public needs a place that if they have to go into to talk with the deputy on a case, that they're not bothered by this stuff during something like this?
Like I said, I think it's probably a better office space for bringing the public into what
Yeah.
we had.
Oh, by all means. And this is, don't get me wrong, Boston's beautiful out there. It's a great office, but
It
it's
is.
not
I mean,
feasible
I was
for,
quite
and it's sorry
impressed.
that it didn't work out, but we can't bring people in there. You know, we're bringing them in there because they're victims of crimes and trying to interview them, and it doesn't work. So we got to do them in our squad cars. That's the problem. I don't have anything wrong with the office out there. It's just not feasible for some of the stuff that we have to do.
What could be done to correct that? Anything?
Building and grounds have done everything they can. We've worked with them in the last couple of years, and we can't win. It is what it is. Um, I'd take it for example is the beetles that are in houses and stuff, but these are the small little flies, besides the smell, and it's because of, the job that they do at the incinerator. But it's the flies that are just constantly flying around when you're in there. And we've done everything. They've gotten catchers up there, they put filters up there. I met with Rick and Josh on it, and they said there's nothing else that we can do for that. But I just need, and it doesn't have to be social services building. I need a place where we can sit down with people out in the east end of the county,
Well, I don't
be able
think
to meet
it's,
with them.
I don't think it's your position to decide what's going to be done with that
Boston
area.
office?
Yeah, that you're going to be leaving, but
Yeah.
and the Macintosh is, it's a rental. It isn't our building, so
Correct.
I'm guessing most of this stuff would probably stay with the building.
If we move out?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If,
But
so
I don't know if we haven't, and I don't have heard of any plans of social service of that moving out, but I don't have anywhere else to go. So if you have any other ideas, this was put in front of you to get quotes and try to find some area out there for our deputies, but I don't have anything else at this time. We can hold off and I can look for some more if you would like.
well, I think you could have those conversations with Chuck. I don't know what options are.
I think the board, Jim's brought this to the board last fall, and the board was supportive of moving over to Macintosh. I haven't had a conversation with him yet about what will be done with the office space in Floston. I know the Sally Port over there is still used for storage, the boat, I think, and some other things maybe. So that'll continue, and I think probably the most rational thing would be to talk to Steiner and see if there's a need for that space for environmental services. Otherwise, Jim's correct. We did try everything to get rid of the bugs and the smell. It was fine, I think, for a while, but especially when it gets hot, it's a tough environment. We have our quarterly swab meetings upstairs, and you can kind of, I mean, it is what it is. That's the building. So I think it's an open item for discussion going forward.
Yeah, I think when we made that decision, we didn't understand that there was going to have to be a lot of security changes.
Well, if it's not, yeah, it's not really that much.
I didn't know what the dollars.
The big ticket is right here. These are 2-door, same thing you have on every door in
Those
the,
are interior door.
yep, these are the doors that you use your card in to get into access into them.
Okay.
And you're changing those out, and that's what I said to Chuck during the last meeting is that's what the expensive thing is on this. So if we went to all keys, that's an option.
Yeah.
It's not an option. You're gonna get the county administrator's support.
But I looked at it too, and I'd said, no, wait, I'll find used ones. I just can't see paying that $3,790 for 2 key swipes. But Chuck said that's the cost of what they are. So other than that, I didn't think the quote was too bad for what we have to do, and we don't have to do that much.
How many square feet approximately?
Oh, I don't know, 200. It's about as wide as this, and then probably about a little bit shorter than this for office space. There's 2 in the corner, and then there's a spot where we can bring people in if you have to use the intoxilizer. That will be brought over by Foston. So it's 2 offices, and there's enough room. And then we have just off to the side, we have an interview room off there that we can utilize.
So 3 rooms.
Yeah, no, 1 room and then in a little interview room. The other one's open space.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we just have to get some dividers or whatever is that social service would not use, then we just pick up that. And hopefully we don't have to spend anything from bringing stuff over, but that stuff's attached, so I'm not sure what's gonna be done with that.
Will this space be rented from the city of McIntosh, or is it part of what we're already paying for with social services?
It's already part of what we're renting.
So no
So it's just
additional.
gonna be repurposed because
Yeah, there's just gonna be repurposed.
Okay.
But we just need the 2 doors in between for entrance, and then so we're separated from social
This
service.
is a one-time expense, basically.
Yes.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor of approval as presented, say aye.
I,
Opposed? Motion passed.
Okay, thank you very much. Anything else?
Any information back on the MOU that we had presented to the union representative?
No, I haven't received anything back.
Nothing.
No,
Okay. Curious.
yeah, no, I have not received anything. They, I mean, with signature or anything, that'd go to HR. I don't have anything.
I'm sorry, I was responding to
Update on the MOU.
the MOU that
the
you approved last week.
union,
They
to the
approved it.
union representative
they've signed
regarding
it.
recruitment.
Mhm.
So it is.
All, both groups have signed it, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
You weren't aware of that.
No, not that I got a copy of anything.
Okay.
I think it was
It'd
just,
be nice to get that information out to the, well, probably the deputies. have
Well, the
been-
deputies know about it because they had to speak to the both of their things on it, but I didn't get a signed copy.
Okay.
I thought you were asking about.
Well, I was just wondering if it was official. And,
All of that. That's what I'm saying. Is
Yeah,
I
it was
don't have
just
a copy.
yesterday, we got a confirmation back from the
Okay.
okay.
sergeant's group.
Okay.
Good.
Any other questions for Jim?
Okay. Have a
Thank
great
you.
day.
Yep.
Thank you.
See ya.
Miss Warmack, come on down.
Morning.
Morning.
Again.
I have one agenda item. We talked about it at our social service board meeting this morning. It is a contract amendment with the contract we have with Department of Employment and Economic Development. We have a contract with them in the amount of $577,772 for them to provide diversionary work program and the Minnesota Family Investment Program services. Deed needs a contract amendment to clarify language to further outline the operational costs in the amount of $10,756, which is the office support work that we provide for their department in our East Grand Forks Human Service Center. Their legal department needed to have that language clarified in the contract. So I'm looking for approval of the contract amendment to clarify additional language to further outline the operational costs in the contract in the amount of $10,756. The total contract amount remains the same at $577,772 for the year of 2025.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Joan moves. All second. All in favor of approval, say aye.
I,
Aye. Opposed? Motion approved.
All right, thank you. There you go. Have a good day.
Say before Karen leaves, just a quick note, and the reason why I wasn't paying attention as closely as I'd like, where is we're getting contacted about getting a hold of Senator Johnson and trying to make sure that he's aware of the cost shift potential, particularly for Health and Human Services. And I think maybe we can discuss after the meeting with a couple of you about putting in some phone calls, try to get a hold of him.
Yeah, because currently the Senate does not have any cuts. And part of that is because of Senator Abler's amendment of putting the work group together to more thoughtfully look at numbers and cuts. So, yeah, just to keep putting the pressure on and, to make sure that that's where there still are at is the no cuts and just to look at it better.
Okay, duly noted. We'll discuss it further during Mr. Whiting's
Yeah.
time.
Mhm. All right, that sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Snyder, you're behind schedule already.
Well, I'll get us back on track then. Morning, everyone.
Wait,
First action item I have is interim use permit request that we received from Rebecca and Richard Kruger. They're looking at operating a home-based business out of an accessory structure on a parcel of property in Polk County. Looking at starting a business for a bakery and having a small shed be the ancillary item for the business. This falls under sections in our ordinance that talk about home-based business in an accessory structure. Again, this is an interim use permit. Just kind of remind the board, these are the standards that follow suit with that home-based business in an accessory structure, all activities under 1,800 square feet, no more than 2 employees, meeting other sections in our ordinance. Don't be a nuisance, don't have offensive odors. Traffic has to come off the public road. We may limit the daily hours of operation, any type of hazardous things that our staff sees can address via conditions. We don't foresee a lot with this type of a business. What they're requesting is to use their house as the kitchen, bake items, and then place them in a 10 by 16 accessory building on their site. Sounds like they were operated as a kind of a, the goods will be put out there. They'll have a lockbox, pay for your items, leave a note if you want to leave a review, all those things. And then, so there really isn't going to be somebody helping them with retailing and all those things. Again, 10 by 16 shed, very limited capacity. It's not like this is going to be a large bakery or anything. One thing I will note is just reminding the board, an interim use is not something that can be sold. It is granted solely to the applicant. It's not something they can sell this with the property. It is strictly to the applicant and non-transferable. So did place that standard in there. We do have some standards as far as setbacks and things we've flagged with the applicants. Some of that language is in the staff recommendation for conditions. Those would be signs are limited to 32 square feet or less, not be located in the right of way, must meet 10 feet off the road right of way. We've flagged all these things on the site for the applicants to consider. They plan to meet all our ordinance guidelines with this type of business. This is the operational plan that we have, from the applicants operating out of that small shed. This is a example. This isn't the end all go all. This is an example of the shed. It will be a fabricated shed placed on the site. Sign is unsure if it's an ancillary or it just goes on the building sidewall. This is the location. Lots of ancillary agricultural buildings with the homestead of the applicants. Pictures of the site. So this is County Highway 19. It's flagged to meet kind of right on them setbacks. They do have a dual driveway. Come in, swing around. They'll have a parking area right next to the shed. Again, this is the kind of location, just looking to the west of this proposal, and then their homestead, and then agricultural buildings that are existing on the site. So I do have a resolution for approval with several conditions. Those conditions are just really crossing our T's, dotting our I's, so they meet all setbacks and ordinance criteria in section 12 for this proposed use. Any questions? No, and staff recommends approval with those conditions.
Motion to approve.
so moved.
Gary moves. Second. Warren seconds. All in favor of approval, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Permit granted.
Where is this, actually? from where?
This is located in section 30 of Keystone Township, so just north of Fisher area in Polk County. It's right off County 19, kind of the cut across from 75 to East Grand Forks.
mile
Good.
east of Leon's old farm.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I can't imagine anybody want to do this type of business, but
She's a good cook.
I could see around graduation time there'd be a lot of cookies and things coming out of that particular shed. One side note, we have discussed this with the applicant. You know, one of our conditions is you meet all state, federal, and county of Polk rules and regulations. She has the Department of Health's contact, making sure that everything is taken care of in that regard as well. So,
I've tasted her treats and they're really good.
that's what she told us. It's like, oh, okay. But yeah, it is a rural site, very much so. But 19 gets some traffic, so.
Yep.
I think a lot of hers will be word of mouth and people that she knows, so. Okay, are we moving on? We're good?
Yep.
Okay. Moving on to our next action item is purchase of window blinds for our office at the Crookston Transfer Station facility. We recently had kind of a staff and union meeting collectively. We're doing that on a regular basis now to just make sure staff's concerns with things in a workplace and all those things are covered. Other ancillary things we want to do around the facility. Obviously, there's other things we want to polish up and do. Make our workplace a little better for our employees. This is a long time overdue window coverings for our facility, especially on the south and west facing windows. A lot of glare comes off in the afternoon, hard to see computers, those types of things. So we recently had Crookston Paint and Glass come in and measure everything up, give us a couple options for window coverings. We did want to maintain that they are neutral color. There's something we can add. This isn't covering all our windows by any means. It's those ones that are kind of our problem windows in our lobby area and in offices. So for 21 window coverings, we received 2 bids. One of those kind of they're both blackout bids are just kind of different styles, the soft style and the opalescence. We're going with the cheaper option. Kind of seemed like those were the ones that were not changing colors frequently. We're going with a neutral gray, but again, blackout blinds for those glare concerns on computers and things. So I'm looking for a motion to approve purchasing window blinds for Crookston Transfer Station facility for Crookston Paint and Glass for the amount of $11,025. Again, for 21 blinds.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Joan motion, second.
If it helps, it's in our budget for building and maintenance. It will be split between planning and zoning and our solid waste.
I'll second. I do recall that when that was being built, that was one of the items that we had discussed. But as I understand, blinds were installed at all in any of those offices.
No window coverings whatsoever installed in our offices.
I personally have been in Jake's office and late afternoon, there is a lot of glare and secondary glare.
Get a little sun. It's good for growing plants too, but we are doing the dual. You can open one, close one. It's really for glares and things. And sitting at the computer, my computer faces the west as well, and all our offices on that west facing wall, which are the majority of our offices are all facing west. So
The board may recall too that we had some discussion about this, particularly with the personnel committee in negotiations about the labor management committee in solid waste. So as he quickly pointed out, that this was a result of the discussions from those committee meetings
to help with the work environment in these buildings.
I
Okay.
think the original intent thoughts were to put drips on it. I'm not sure. Maybe
They were.
cost.
This is a long time
Cost.
coming.
I think it's a good thing doing. I'm glad you got a local bid.
Yeah, and the other thing is we are looking at other things too. This is just one of the one thing to check off that list of about 3 or 4 we've kind of come up with that we can do better on. So another one of those is the echo in our building, being a steel building with all sheetrock. Our conference and meeting room is kind of bothersome to some of our members that have hearing aids for sure. I even can hear the echoes in there. So we are having some contractors come out and give us some ideas on what we can do with that as well. So
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions to the question? Hearing none. All in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Purchase approved.
okay, I just had one other item that I needed a signature on. We did have a satisfaction of a loan payment for our septic fix-up program. We did this in 2017. The property is transferring, and so they provided us with the payment. I'll need chairperson's signature on this, and then we'll get that recorded. But one item kind of piggybacking off of that was we recently got a application for our fix-up program, not our loan program, our septic fix-up program.
Say, before you go too much further, this isn't on the agenda, but you're not.
It's not the application itself. It's just an item. It's not on our agenda. It's just I need staff to get some direction on factoring household income for our septic program.
Do you have a proposal?
I don't have anything in front of me for a proposal.
Back with a proposal in 2 weeks, and I think they can deal with it. Otherwise, I'm not sure. You want to put it on the agenda?
It's just to give me a direction on if we're accepting the application for household income at all.
I'd say bring forward a proposal and have the discussion with something to go on.
Okay. Will do. Can I get your signature for the repayment? That's all I have.
Thank you.
Any thoughts what plans are for making use of those offices that are out in Fossen yet? If not,
Recycle break rooms and things are upstairs right now. The employees over there, I don't know that they need offices or if they go over to the actual incinerator. Because there really is just a back area where recycling gets stockpiled before it gets loaded on semis. So there usually is staff in that building in the back half of it for solid waste. But then the front half has always been the sheriff's office for the last 6 to 7 years. So
well, I'm just thinking if you have plans for it and, desks and things like that need to remain there, then obviously Jim needs to know if he can.
yeah, John would know more about if he
yes.
needs more office space.
Sure.
Obviously, storage space is at a premium, so
We haven't even had any staff discussion on it.
I think so.
no internal discussion. It's so new that they're moving on.
Sure, okay. I'll just, if we can use the equipment someplace else, fine. If it needs to stay there, fine.
Keeping staff over there at the incinerator is premium right now, so as you're aware.
Sure.
Okay. Ms. Helms, come on down.
Jake,
Sorry about that.
nice color.
Didn't wear a matching shirt. Thank you.
Been bright.
Yeah, definitely will see them.
All right, good morning. Agenda item today is to discuss licensure premium pay for the solid waste non-represented positions. requesting approval for the licensure premium rates for 7 different licensure levels for 2 non-represented positions out at solid waste. The first is the assistant facility operations manager position, and then the second is the maintenance supervisor position. Currently, we have 3 employees in those 2 positions. And Polk County would like to apply the same concept as I brought forth to you folks on April 22nd for their licensure premium pay for the solid waste union employees to these 3 non-represented positions as well. Those 7 classifications are listed below with each of the dollar amounts associated for those 2 positions based on their qualifications. They would receive one of those. So the same concept would apply, that they can't combine 2 licensures, for example, B and C, for a total of $5. It's the highest one, so it would be just C, 3. The effective date that I'm proposing is that we'd like to make this effective April 22nd to be consistent with our prior proposal. Action required, just motion and action to approve the 7 licensure premium rates for those 3 non-represented positions. Again, it's 2 job titles, the assistant facility operations manager and then the maintenance supervisor. That all 3 work out at solid waste and oversee the other employees. So just asking to move forward so that we can have consistency out in that department.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Motion to approve.
So moved.
Joan moves. Second.
I'll second.
Warren seconds. All in favor as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
Thank you. Okay, I have one more item here today that I'm bringing forth for John Steiner, who is unable to attend today's board meeting. It's to replace an open position out at solid waste, the mechanical maintenance position. He has 2 positions, and we recently had 1 mechanical maintenance position who was out on an extended medical leave that has elected to resign. So requesting to backfill that position as it is already budgeted and is needed currently and in 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
I'll take Warren. Second.
Beat you to it, Joe.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay.
Opposed? Motion approved.
Thank you very much. Enjoy your wet, rainy rest of your day.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Milby.
Good morning.
You.
All right, the first item that I have is a professional services contract for the redetermination of benefits and grass strip acquisition with H2 overviewers. This is based on the motion and the action that was on March 18th when it was approved. It just needs board chair signature. Rich sent it to me saying, you can either bring this right to Commissioner Holy or bring it to the whole board to approve, and I felt it was better to bring it to the whole board to make aware. So it's just entering into the agreement. So what I'm looking for is a motion to approve the chair to sign the agreement.
As I recall at that meeting when what's his name, Brian Murphy was on Zoom.
Yep.
Was 1, how are we going to pay for it all? And number 2, the timelines and so forth and so on. And that was discussed in that newsletter article a little bit. And I still got some questions on the whole process.
Okay. Like I said, this was sent to me by Rich.
being he's at, I believe, NACO this week, so he's unable to be here. Um, so if you have questions, I can certainly get those over to the H2O reviewers and to Rich. Are there specific questions you'd like me to ask before and then we'll bring this back for you?
I think we need to have Mr. Murphy either in present at a meeting or by Zoom and Mr. Sanders here also.
Okay, because like I said, this is all drafted and based on what was already approved by the board. This is that group one that was discussed and agreed upon, and now this is just signing the agreement that
This
follows
is
that language.
this is just for the Sand Hill.
Yes, this is group one. This is what was approved already. This is just the agreement after that discussion and that approval. So now it's signing that particular agreement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Group one was approved, correct?
Correct.
Because we haven't had any more discussion on the rest of the county.
Yep.
Right.
Motion to approve group one agreement.
So moved.
Joan moves. Second.
Second.
Waiting for your approval.
I'm sorry.
I'm waiting for your approval.
It
Yeah, so these are the ditches that, 16, 19 of that list, that was all in group one.
group one only.
Yes, correct. Second.
Warren or Gary seconds. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
All right, so then
Motion approved.
I'll have that for you to sign here at the end. The next item that I have is due to the discontinuation of the Macintosh Times, who was our official newspaper for the year 2025. I requested bids from the area newspapers to cover the remainder from June 1st to December 31st of 2025. I gave them a week to get back to me, and we received bids from 3 of the 4 that I sent to. And the one that I did not receive from, I've been told that they might be shutting down as well. So it wasn't a huge surprise not to hear from them. But the lowest bid that we received was from the 13 towns, and they have agreed to do this at the same rate that the Macintosh Times was, which is $2.50 per column inch. So what I'm looking for is approval of this resolution to name the 13 towns.
13 towns.
Excuse me, the 13 towns. The official newspaper for Polk County for the remainder of 2025, beginning June 1st and ending December 31st.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
Warren seconds. All in favor of naming 13 towns as the official Polk County newspaper, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Motion approved.
I will let them know, and we'll let the rest of the staff know on the publication dates and deadlines and things like that.
You were going to check into, it seems to me at the last meeting, you were going to the statute. I forget what was.
Was it for being able to
Change it midterm or even posting it online? I think there was some discussion.
I think that was with Chuck,
That
not
was
with me.
legislation, and of course the session isn't over yet. I'm not.
Right, yeah, but I know I did hear, I think it was just yesterday that there was the talk of being able to use the
Designated
website because of so many newspapers.
Yeah. And again, I'm still waiting for passage. And
Okay.
Wouldn't be effective right now anyway.
Yeah.
No.
That other
Okay.
newspaper that's considering a shutdown, was that Erskine?
correct. Again, that was just hearsay from when I spoke with Corrine from Richards Publishing.
Mhm.
she just heard that Rob may be wanting to retire, but
Yeah.
she wasn't 100%. So
Okay, thank you.
It's not
Mr.
surprising.
Waiting,
Topic business.
or do we need a little bit of a,
Yeah, so I can get her on. Yep. I'll just go
Oh, yeah, take a break because I gotta get.
Hello, how are you today? Certainly. Thank goodness for virtual backgrounds. Is that good?
we're ready, back in session.
Okay, thanks. We're back. We've got review and adoption of county investment policies. You saw a draft of this at the prior meeting. We've got Jean McGann from Abdo. Her and Annette have gone through this and pretty much drafted it up for us. I know we did, in my conversations with them, make some very minor changes since you saw this last. I haven't heard from any of you, so I think what we'll do is have Jean kind of go through it and see if you have any questions about it. But this is all prelude to having a more formal and rigorous investment policy and plan going forward. So I'll turn it over to Jean.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm pleased to be here this morning to talk a bit more about the investment policy. I know Annette presented the original investment policy to you on May 6th. And now today I just wanted to go over the information that has been modified since the original policy had been presented on May 6th. As we walk through the investment policy, the first modification that we'll see is if we go down to where we see the internal control section, we did eliminate the section about verbal quotations being received from all other brokers along with the subsequent confirmation. We wanted to remove that area because we really want to have all quotations be in writing rather than receiving verbal quotations. So we just removed that sentence there. In addition to that, we changed the verbiage in the next sentence where it indicates if a specific maturity date is required, either for cash flow purposes or for conformance to maturity guidelines, quotations will be requested for, rather than instruments, we stated for an investment amount. It just really clarifies things a bit more rather than stating an instrument. It's for an investment. So we just wanted to make certain that all language within the policy is very, very transparent. As we skip down into the authorized investments and collateralizations, there was one modification as we're reviewing the different state law permits investments in the following types of securities. There was one called the Minnesota Trust that we eliminated, as that's really applicable to cities as opposed to counties, and we wanted to make certain just to remove that. Now, when we go into the areas that are allowed under Minnesota Statutes 118A, the original investment policy had provided a listing of everything that's allowed under Minnesota Statutes 118A. We did modify this a little bit where banker's acceptance and commercial paper, with that, we did change that from a 50% sector maximum to 0. And the reason for that is commercial paper and banker's acceptance are considered to be very risky investments. And the purpose of having an investment policy is to ensure that the county's investments are safe and secure. And really do not want the county to ever have to be concerned about any type of riskier investments. Recognizing the fact that commercial paper and banker's acceptance are still allowable under the statutes, but yet just wanting to be a bit more conservative within the policy itself.
There were small percentages anyway.
Yes, they were very small percentages that were allowable, but we just wanted to present this as having them eliminated from allowable investments. If you go on to the next page, we also eliminated where we have the sentence individual holdings of obligors other than those backed by U.S. government, its agencies, or instrumentalities are limited to 3% of the total market value of the portfolio at the time of purchase. That seemed redundant based on other qualifying aspects that we have within the policy itself. So we did eliminate that sentence or that bullet point. as well as the bullet point that indicates the percentage of the overall portfolio to be invested in certificates of deposits, commercial paper, banker acceptances, or municipal bonds shall be limited to a maximum of 50% for each type of security. With that, that bullet point was eliminated because if you look back up into where we have the text box, which indicates the sector maximum, per issuer maximum, and the minimum rating requirement, all of that information is identified within that box. So this too was also redundant. As well as on the next bullet point where we're indicating that federal agency mortgage-backed securities and federal agency collateralized mortgage obligations will be limited to a weighted average life of the 5 years. With that particular calculation, the question was, who is going to calculate what that weighted average life is? And so we did eliminate that qualification or metric as well. When we go under the investment monitoring, a bullet point that was eliminated is the average weighted yield to maturity of portfolio on investments as compared to the applicable benchmarks. We did eliminate that as the calculation there would be very complex, and we already have the requirements as far as what everything can be invested in and the percentages that can be invested into that type of investment itself. The performance standard section was also eliminated. We want the investment policy to provide the safety and security of the investments, but yet when we're getting into some of the performance standards, it gets to be very complicated, calculations in order to calculate things against the different performance standards. And so we did eliminate that section. And those are the modifications that were made to the investment policy itself. And I'd be happy to address any questions that you may have on this.
I might note that, there's two purposes for this policy. One is that we have one that is very conservative and basically, I don't call it risk-free, but provides a guideline for managing county funds, short and long term. But the particulars of this policy are something that an individual that we would utilize would really be paying attention to as a guideline for what is acceptable and what isn't. It's not something that the board necessarily has to stay on top of unless you have interest in that. I've had commissioners other places that are bankers or CFOs on the board, and they do have interest in these kinds of things, but most of it is a little certainly above me. But I think for a conservative outline of setting the ground rules for going forward and utilizing some assistance in analyzing and managing our funds, that this fits the bill.
I think the policy is a good idea, but who ultimately is gonna be responsible for the investment and seeing compliance of the policy? Is it gonna be just one person or one or two people?
I think, and Gene, I'm going to call you back up on the screen so they can see you. With a new finance director, with at least for the time being, the assistance from Abdo, and then utilizing an advisor that actually does the planning for these investments. I think that's what you should expect. Plus, as part of that, regular reports to the board as to how this is going, what the intent is, what we're seeing in the markets, and how that affects what we're doing. And Jean, you've done this way more than I have, but
Yes.
Embellish on that for me.
Yes, I would like to add a few additional comments here. The county would be engaging with a professional advisor that this is their job. And this professional advisor would be required to sign off on what's called a broker certification form. And this form has them acknowledge that they will follow this particular investment policy and they will not adhere from what this policy states that the county is allowed to invest in. They will provide recommendations. They will also request and assist the finance director and Abdo at this point in developing a forecast so that they know how to ladder or how to invest these funds to maximize the return for the county. So you will be able to see a better rate of return and interest earnings coming back to the county for this. And the investments will be secure. And the intent of the policy is to hold the investments to maturity. There will be, one of the things that we would request is that either on a quarterly or semi-annual basis is that there would be a presentation to the board so you can see exactly how the investments are doing, how they're being invested, and how the investments are being laddered out based on the need of dollars coming back into the county, whether it's for different infrastructure projects or other cash flow needs that the county has.
I think it would be good to have that presentation of, obviously, somebody in the county is gonna get a year-end statement, but pre-budget season, maybe September 1, have the review in the event we need, so we fully understand what's been earned and where the balances are before we go into budget time. But my previous question was, and that it's good for the investor or the broker and the statement as far as external people, but I'm talking internal people, Polk County employees, who ultimately is going to be responsible.
That would be the finance director and the county administrator.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't want any of this to get away from the board, however. So consider this to be kind of like, okay, here's our discussion about what we want to do. You approve this, now we've got the framework to go and start considering the broker that can come in, demonstrate how they would do this. There's going to be a lot of lead time because of analyzing our own cash flow needs, our own cash flow data has to be done as well, so that we can have an informed look at what we're doing when we know things are due. We all may have kind of a feel for it, but what we're trying to do here is make sure that we're managing these funds in an optimum way for the benefit of the taxpayer in the end.
Yep.
And, the finance director will be very close to that in terms of analyzing it. Obviously, we don't have one right now. We will in a couple of days. But it's going to take some work just analyzing what we do. It's going to be a little bit more than the chart you see about cash balances. That'll, I'm sure, be a part of it, but there's a whole expenditure side to that also has to get looked at.
Okay. Any other questions?
Maybe before anybody throws a motion on the floor, Gene, if this is approved here today, what do you expect the next couple of steps to be for Polk County?
The next couple of steps would be, first off, to talk to a couple, investment advisors and make the determination as to whom you're going to be working with. And at that point, a cash flow analysis needs to be completed, working with that investment advisor and, of course, your finance director, and making a determination as to how the funds should be invested.
So maybe a question for the board is that some of that prep work, something you'd be comfortable having the finance committee work on as we can go to bring back to the board for maybe a broader education of what the options are, or do you want to do it as a full board?
Consensus?
I can go either way.
Can certainly work either way. It may be more convenient to have the finance committee just sit here and grind on some of the basic stuff, and kind of lay out how it looks as an overall picture, and then have that discussion with the board. Maybe
Finance
I
committee
think
okay
that-
with it?
I think that works.
yeah, we'll have the horsepower, and of course we're going to have the new finance director. Be good for her to also kind of pick up, and there's going to be a lot to learn here, and I think this is one of these things you have to feel right about what you're doing, because it's as we do every day, but here we are dealing with people's money, not our own individual money, of course.
Well, like I said, the policy is good. The process I was questioning is just to make sure that we've got at least two on the county side that
Yeah.
are overseeing and managing and looking at this
Yeah.
also.
Yeah, I think that's in the policy, if I remember correctly. It's who's
It
referred.
is in the policy.
So unless there's any questions or anything more from Gene, I'd ask for approval of it as presented, unless you've got.
Any other questions? Hearing none, entertain a motion to approve the policy.
So moved.
Joan moves,
Second.
Gary seconds. All in favor of the adoption of the county investment policy, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Policy adopted.
Okay, good, thanks. Gene, don't go just yet. I've got the budget calendar here. I think you saw that. I worked with Annette on it. The board will notice some differences from maybe what you've seen in the past. I tried to just color code it so that everybody kind of knows what their part is, but it'll follow pretty much what we've typically done, but we're making accommodations for utilization of the Questica software that the board adopted last month. We still would have the department meetings with myself. It's basically the administrators meeting. Finance committee attends those, and we'll have the finance director there as well. Hopefully by then we will have some good training and data input for the department heads with Questica. There's a meeting I think going on right at this moment with Questica, or else it's at noon. I can't remember. Yeah, it's at noon. So this is already in the works. Gene's staff is working with the Questica people to construct in Questica our account chart so that it can pull data right out of IFS and pull some HR data out of Kronos to help structure that budget. What's going on right now is the first meeting with Kronos or UKG on the payroll software that you approved last meeting. I'm not in that because I'm here with you, but that's taking place, and I think the emphasis is on the HR side of that this morning. So a lot's going on. It's every day. I've generally had the board adopt the finance or the budget schedule. I should note too, I don't have them highlighted in yellow, but the 2 days of board meetings with the department heads starting on September 16th in the Social Services Board meeting for Karen's budget, spend the rest of the day going over the other departments and the next day, just going line by line. And that'll probably be our first, the board's first opportunity to see what the Crestica software looks like.
The process of converting the current practices to the new, how will that go? Is that mostly done in CDs at this point, or is it gone through the state investment program?
We probably won't change anything right now. I think I'll follow up with Gene and Annette on what we have right now.
Mhm.
We've been doing a lot with the Magic Fund, keeping things liquid. I'd have to check where we left off on whether we have CDs out there still. But we'll probably just continue. Those are very safe at this point. But we'll kind of let those things play out until
Yeah.
we've got.
Won't be some quick change over to.
I don't think we'll undo any. As Gene said, we'll go to maturity on things like CDs.
Mhm.
So we'll just have to mark when they're matured, and then consider that in the whole cash flow analysis.
On the bottom of the first page, third one up, you've got August 6th as a board meeting.
It's August 5th.
And you also have August 5th listed up above that.
Oh, yeah. This is what happens when I edit last year's calendar. Okay, that line will be removed. Good catch. It's one of these things I can look at 100 times and not see it. The other notable dates would be September 23rd to pass the preliminary levy and set the budget hearing date, which would be December 2nd. That would be an evening meeting. And that generally gets flip-flopped depending on when AMC is. AMC annual conference is the next week. So.
And November 5th should be November 4th. And I assume that the 12th for the department head should be the 11th.
November 11th is a holiday, Joan. That's Veterans Day, so I got that one right. But yeah, the 5th should be the 4th.
The 2 days in September, 16th and 17th.
Yep.
We had those on.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Prior, so.
And we actually put those in when we set the budget calendar or the meeting calendar at the beginning of the year.
Sounds good.
Gene, do you want to give a short update on where we're at? I mean, I kind of did with some of the softwares, but anything to report from Abdo's standpoint? We're certainly got a lot of things moving right now.
We do have a lot of things moving, and one of the most critical components right now is we are really knee deep in preparing all of the information for the annual audit. We anticipate within the next week and a half or so to be finalizing everything for the auditors. The auditors start their county audits right around the 1st of July, so we will be prepared well in advance. And we wanted to make certain we do that, so we're really focusing on the current year as opposed to focusing on last year. So we will have everything ready for the auditors. And we have, addressed a lot of their, all of their, various comments that they've had from past years. We have essentially unraveled, many, many different things. And as Annette has reported, there has been a significant number of bank accounts already closed and many more that will be upcoming here shortly. In addition to that, Annette has reported about the accounts payable workflow and those types of things that are live at this point. We feel as though we're making great progress. We're almost caught up with all of the current year, bank reconciliations as well. So, current year is going extremely well. And I feel like we're getting things to a pretty good place.
Yeah, I think we're kind of transitioning from catching up, bringing things up to speed to, okay, now we're transitioning into a lot of the new approaches, whether it's a software development, the new finance director, Stacy Grover. I'll bring her in here at a future meeting. She starts on Thursday. And then the software that has been purchased so far, the acquisition, integration, and eventually implementation of that's coming. So, yeah, it does feel busy.
Yes, there's still a lot of moving parts and pieces, but I feel as though we're really getting to a good place.
Abdel got a compliment earlier in the meeting, Gene, with the finance staff producing receipts for tax payments at the counter. That was well received.
That's fabulous. Thank you very much.
Anybody got anything else for Gene?
Good progress.
Thank you, Gene. I know that
Yes, thank you.
that background is that is just background. It's not where you actually are located, if anybody is wondering what.
It's a wonderful virtual background. I wish this was where I was at, but no, I'm in my office.
Okay. All right.
All right. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye now.
Okay. So did we adopt the calendar?
No.
No, we have not.
No. Any questions on well, we did have some clarifications on dates.
I'll fix those. I do my own work here,
Well, motion to approve the amended budget dates.
So moved.
Gary moves. Second. I'll second. All in favor of the budget, approving the amended budget calendar, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Calendar adopted.
Thank you. My last item here is on behalf of Sarah Reese. This is a request to fill the 0.8 FTE wellness coordinator position. Our incumbent there has submitted her resignation. She's moving on. I can't remember where, but she's done a good job for us. We don't know if there'll be anybody internally that gets it, but if there is, this motion requested would cover any subsequent vacancies that occur in public health.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
I'll second.
1 second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion approved.
That's all I have.
We're adjourned. Discussion.
Yes, maybe just have two of you try to avoid open meeting issues, but volunteers to contact Senator Johnson on the ongoing budget discussions in the Capitol. Joan said she
Joan
would.
would be
Joan should be
the
the
lead on that.
If anybody's got any insight, or I've tried to contact him last week. I know John Steiner has, because we have a bonding project out there.
Yeah, that's the
I don't
next
know.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The last I heard, because I mean, there's definite dollar amounts differences between House and Senate. But it sounds like it's just gonna be state. And
State
the,
projects.
waste water treatment things. So I don't know. I know Otter Tail was down there last week because they're looking at expansion at their facility. But
Okay, I'll just follow up with Joan and one other if you want, but otherwise we'll follow.
Chances are I'm gonna be out of pocket depending on the rain, but Gary or Warren, you wanna reach out to them?
I could.
Okay, Warren.
I don't live that far from him, so.
Okay, thanks.
Sometimes I see him at church, so.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there you go.